Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Danker. Roll call, please.
Mayor Steam.
Present.
Councilmember at Large Anderson.
Present.
Councilmember Enright.
Present.
King.
Present.
Austin.
Present.
Haley.
Present.
Hagan.
Present.
Fisher.
Present.
We have a quorum, Your Honor.
Item number 1 is a motion for adoption of the agenda. We do have an addition under number 4. With the addition, we need a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 2 is a motion for approval of the minutes from May 15th and 16th, 2017. Need a motion.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 3 under awards and recognition. Now, today we're going to recognize Jessica Cabine. Is that how we say your name?
That's it.
And
Here.
Jessica Cabine is the Minnesota Elementary School Association's National Distinguished Principal for Minnesota this year. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That's correct. Absolutely. Can you tell us more about it?
Absolutely. So the Minnesota Association of Elementary School Principals every year goes through a process of nominating a number of elementary principals. From that point, you complete about a 40-page application to be into the top 3. And from there, it's a 45-minute interview to be selected as the finalist. So I had the honor and privilege of being selected as the finalist. I'm the first principal from the Austin Public Schools to be heading to DC in October to represent the state as a whole.
Cool.
Yeah.
I would assume there's a lot of unique challenges with our kindergarten because we have a very... Tell us about the kids. I mean, we have quite a different
Absolutely,
mix, don't we?
and there's 2 things I think that's really important in the state of Minnesota that we're recognizing early learning. And I had the opportunity to be at a press conference with Governor Dayton earlier this year to highlight the positive things we're doing in the Austin community to embrace early learners. At the Woodson Kindergarten Center, we have 360 students and 25 different languages spoken within our school community. So we really embrace all different perspectives, all different backgrounds, and we do our very best, the teachers and paraprofessionals, to make sure that they are equipped with the foundational skills to make them prepared for first grade and on. Ultimately, we want all our students going on to post-secondary and coming back and serving our community in whatever capacity that they dream of.
We're waiting for the book. Because I think you could probably write one when you're done over there.
I hope so. It's a wonderful honor to live and lead in the same community. I think, both having my children in the school district, my husband working for utilities, it's just been an honor to be able to serve the community and give back because they've given us so much in our 10 years here.
Well, I mean, you're really breaking a lot of new ice over there. I think that, there's a lot of diverse schools, but I don't know that there's very many as diverse and as mixed, with 20 different languages, 27 languages like ours. So.
Yeah, and we get a lot of calls. I get from Texas, California, New York, a lot of different people just interested in how we're making things work and making such great progress in 174 school days. So it's been really fun.
About an hour presentation. Do you have I mean, we're not asking obviously now, but do you have a presentation?
Yeah, just whip it out. We want to see it.
Well, I mean, we have work sessions. It'd be interesting to see just how you get it done sometime. Or if you have one, let us know. We could go and attend it wherever you do.
Well, and any of you are always welcome for any tours, and we can talk through some of the things that we do that have done really well and been recognized at the state and national level, not just with early learning, but with technology. I was able to go to DC last year and was one of the 3 digital learners, leaders of the early learning for that's pre-K and K. And then the Minnesota Department of Education has awarded Woodson 3 years the exemplar PBIS school. So that's been really neat to be able to recognize that we're able to set a foundation of common expectations with 5 and 6-year-olds across the whole community. So that's been really fun too.
Well, excellent. We thank you and we applaud you for the job.
Well, thank you very much. And with that, I'm going to go coach soccer. I have a game at 6:30. So
Did you bring your son with
this
you?
is my son, Kenny. Yeah.
Kenny?
Hi, Kenny.
Hey, Kenny.
Aren't you proud of your mom?
We had that on record, right?
On the record.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And Kenny, thank you for coming to it. Thank you for bringing your mom to us, okay? Appreciate it. Okay, number 4 is a consent agenda. We need a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Okay, Tom?
Councilmember Enright.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Austin.
Aye.
Helly.
Abstain.
Hagan.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember Lloyd Anderson.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0 with one abstaining, Your Honor.
Thank you. Now, number 5 under bid openings and awards is a resolution receiving bids for mill and overlay and street lighting at 9th Place Southwest. Mr. Lang, you want to do 5, 6, and 7, or you take them singly, or
Let's do them one at a time.
however you want to
All
do
right.
them? Sometimes you do them in bunches.
Yeah, in this case, this is 9th Place Southwest. This is a project that I brought back to council, adding some additional work to it. It was started out as just a street lighting project down by Skinner's Hill, and we added a mill and overlay to the project. Bidding this project, the low bidder was Yulin Brothers. Very close bids with this project. They were within just over $1,000 of each other. The low bidder was $126,036.95. State aid funds will fund both the mill and overlay and the street lighting portion of this project, and we'd recommend awarding it.
Are you going to have the whole street closed when you do it, or just half of it, or? Getting pretty close to home here, Stephen.
Yeah. The street will be closed for 2 days.
Okay.
But they likely won't be consecutive days.
Okay.
So it'll be 1 day for the milling, 1 day for the overlay. We may have to add, talking with Mitch a little bit today about some sanitary sewer extension right by the pavilion. So there may be a few extra days of closure for that, but it will be minimal.
What are approximate dates on it?
You know, we give the contractor a lot of flexibility. It'll start after the 4th of July.
Okay.
We don't want to impact that. And then we give them some flexibility to let them fit it into their schedule. And then we say, okay, you can fit it in any time in the fall, but it needs to be done in approximately a week. So we give them a certain amount of days they need to have it done once they get started.
Excellent. Council, any more questions or comments? If not, we need a resolution for number 5.
So move the resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Enright.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Austin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Hagan.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember Lloyd Anderson.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. 6 is a resolution receiving bids for alley reconstruction between 9th Street and 10th Street Northeast. Stephen?
In recent years, we've been focusing on commercial alley reconstruction in the downtown area. With this project, we're jumping over to the east side. Difficult area to describe, but it's between 9th Street and 10th Street Northeast, south of 4th Avenue. So kind of I call it the East Side Bars area. Asphalt alley reconstruction, again, Yulin Brothers were the only and low bidder on this project, $79,027.50. And this would come from local funds and also our storm water capital improvement fund.
Council, anything? If not, we need a resolution.
So move the
Is
resolution.
there a second?
Second.
Tom?
Councilmember Enright.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Austin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Hagan.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember Lloyd Anderson.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. Number 7 is a resolution receiving bids for street construction on 27th Avenue Northwest. Mr. Lang.
Yeah, this last project is up in the Cook Farm. It's an extension, about 400-foot extension of 27th Avenue from 4th Street west into the Cook Farm for a development there. And this project, one bidder on the project, all the underground utilities are in place, so we'll just be building the roadway, the asphalt curb and gutter, and pavement. We'll be adding some street lighting on the project with a total cost of $147,801.50. Just want to note there that the memo indicates it would come from local fund 49, but there will also be proceeds from the sale of the property that will be involved to pay for this project as well.
Thank you. Council, anything? If not, we need a resolution for 7.
So move the resolution.
Second.
Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Enright.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Austin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Hagan.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember Lloyd Anderson.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. Under petitions and request, 8 is a motion authorizing the use of 2017 contingency funds in the amount of $5,000 for Todd Park parking lot repairs. Kim?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As we talked at the last work session, we had a parking lot this last winter that sort of fell apart, and it wasn't really in our scope of work to replace. We do have some budget funding, but that puts us at $28,000, and we are requesting the additional $5,000 to make up our balance to cover the $33,000 that we will take to use to repair the parking lot.
Council, anything, questions, comments? If not, we need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. 9 is a resolution approving findings of fact and order for the revocation of Serenity Massage, Frank Wendish's massage establishment license. Mr. Hoverstein.
Yes, Your Honor. As the council recall, the last council meeting, we had a hearing with regard to the requested revocation of the massage parlor license of Frank J. Windish for a facility located at 1002 Oakland Avenue West, Austin, Minnesota. At that hearing, certain evidence was produced and submitted to the council for its consideration. After that, the council did vote to have the city attorney prepare the proposed findings of fact and order for revocation. The findings of fact are set forth in your records here at this time. And on the basis of those findings of fact and the various allegations of Austin City ordinances set forth therein specifically, it is our request and the request of the police department that the council adopt the findings of fact and enter an order revoking the massage parlor license of Frank J. Windish.
Thank you. Council, are there any questions or comments? If not, we need a resolution for item number 9.
So moved the resolution.
Is there a second? Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Enright.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Austin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Hagan.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Anderson.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. 10 is a resolution approving finding of fact and order for a dangerous dog designation for the animal known as Oso, owned by Kerry Anchor. Mr. Hoverstein.
Yes, Your Honor. Similar to the former action taken by the council, this action was brought before the council on the substance of a violation of the ordinance with regard to dangerous animals. The council did find that it was a dangerous animal and declared that under certain conditions the animal would not be destroyed. Therefore, the findings of fact set forth the establishment of the evidence presented at the hearing concerning the nature of the attack by the dog known as Oso, I believe, and the injuries suffered by a citizen, and that the dog should be declared dangerous, and under the foregoing an order would be entered, designated dog as a dangerous animal, and setting forth certain conditions that have to be met by the dog's owner to prevent the destruction of the animal with regard to procedures in the event that the conditions are not met, and which would further authorize the city to seize the animal and have it destroyed in the event those conditions are not met by the dog's owner. So it would be the request made to the city council that it adopt the findings of fact and also adopt the proposed order as set forth in your materials.
Council, anything? If not, we need a resolution for 10.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Enright.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Austin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Hagan.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Anderson.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. 11 is a resolution approving a liquor catering license for Hy-Vee Inc., DBA Hy-Vee Market Grill. Any questions on this? Otherwise, we need a resolution.
So moved the
Is
resolution.
there a second?
Second.
Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Enright.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Austin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Hagan.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Anderson.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. 12 is a resolution approving a Sunday hard liquor on sale license for El Peral Ballroom Inc. Any questions on this, council? If not, let's have a resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Dankert?
Councilmember Enright.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Austin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Hagan.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Anderson.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. 13 is a resolution approving a maintenance agreement with MnDOT for Highway 105. Mr. Lang.
Agreement included in your packet is for Highway 105, which is Oakland Avenue West, beginning out at I-90, coming into Austin to Quick Trip, and then south to the Turtle Creek Bridge. That's what this portion of the agreement pertains to. Pretty much the project that was a mill and overlay last year in 2016, excuse me. The maintenance agreement in front of you tonight, you can see the rates of what previous agreements have been at and different percentages. 2% increase has been kind of the standard over previous years with MnDOT. This maintenance agreement mainly revolves around snow removal and salt sand work in the wintertime. Other things included with this could be sweeping in the spring, also maybe some minor patching or striping that needs to be done. So those would be the responsibilities of the city as part of this agreement, and I'd recommend approval.
Council, anything? If not, we need a resolution.
So, second.
Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Enright.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Austin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Hagan.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember Large Anderson.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. 14 is resolution approving a CenturyLink building entry agreement. Stephen?
Yes, this entry agreement is for the Hormel hangar located out at the Austin Municipal Airport. CenturyLink has drafted the agreement to provide telecommunication services to that facility. This is a unique agreement where the City of Austin owns the ground at the Austin Municipal Airport. Then Hormel leases the space for the hangar. So we have multiple people involved with this. From a city standpoint, Mr. Hoverson has reviewed the attached document and he has approved the agreement. So from a city standpoint, we would recommend approval of this building entry agreement.
Council, anything? If not, we need a resolution.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Enright.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Austin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Hagan.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember Large Anderson.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. 15 is a resolution approving a master partnership contract with the Minnesota Department of Transportation. Stephen?
This is a 5-year agreement, and it helps to streamline the process for working with MnDOT on our local state aid reconstruction projects, but it also helps with bigger projects, like we recently worked through some of those agreements on the Highway 105 project last year with the bike lanes and things that we constructed there, some of the pedestrian crossings along 12th Street and Oakland Avenue by Banfield School. It also helps to streamline projects like the 11th Drive bridge project for this year, working in some of those agreements that we have for wider sidewalk railings and things like that. So this is a 5-year master lease agreement with MnDOT, and we would recommend approval.
Council, anything? If not, we need a resolution.
So moved the resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Enright.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Austin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Hagan.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember Large Anderson.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. 16 is a resolution reviewing a right-of-way vacation request from Pro Growth Bank and setting a public hearing for the vacation on July 3rd, 2017. Stephen?
Yes, this is the area located north of Walmart that the HRA has been working on development project there. And in order to start that process, we need to vacate the existing right-of-ways and easements that were planned for the, I believe, planned unit development that was there, Fox Point development that was there originally. So this is the first step. And as the mayor indicated, it's both a resolution and a motion, moving a couple items forward to start the process. As you can see there, detailed out with some bullet points and different things, it's a fairly long process for right-of-way vacation. And we'll work through these following steps and look to bring this back for final approval near the second council meeting in August. So got a couple time frames we need to meet over the next couple months in order to move this forward and help the development meet some of their time frames.
Council, any questions, comments? If not, we need a resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Enright.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Austin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Hagan.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Anderson.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. 17 is a resolution accepting a 2016 FEMA Assistant to Firefighter grant. Chief?
Your Honor, Council, the 2016 FEMA AFG grant would allow us to buy a turnout gear dryer, which would allow us to dry turnout gear after a fire within hours versus days. Our portion of the grant is $963, with the federal share being $96.32. I recommend approval of this grant.
Council, any questions or comments? If not, we need a resolution.
So moved. Second.
Or Mr. Dankert?
Councilmember Enright.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Austin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Hagan.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Anderson.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
18 is a resolution approving change order number 4 on the Nature Center construction project. Kim?
Thank you. You, in your packet, have a memo regarding a change order. Should be the last change order for Metcon. We have some other projects out there, but not to this particular company. So the project's not complete, but it would be for $24,601.22. It is within our budget.
Okay, council, anything? If not, we need a resolution.
So move the resolution.
Second.
Mr. Dankert?
Councilmember Enright.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Austin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Hagan.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Anderson.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
And for our final resolution, 19 is calling for a public hearing on approval of tax increment financing plan for tax increment financing housing district number 14 in the city of Austin and establishment of increment finance housing district number 14. Tom?
The Austin HRA, working with the City of Austin, is working on a housing development out at Fox Point, for which a tax increment district is being set up, because without that tax increment district, the financing just does not work for the developer. So at this point in time, we're just requesting the City Council approve the calling for the public hearing so that the TIF district can go through the process to begin being established.
Council, anything? If not, let's have a resolution.
So move the resolution.
Is there a second? Mr. Dankert?
Councilmember Enright.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Austin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Hagan.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Anderson.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. 20 is a number of motions granting the Planning and Zoning Department the power to contract for removal of junk and/or illegally stored vehicles at A, 506 11th Avenue Southwest, Windroth property. We need a motion.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? B, 508 11th Avenue Southwest, the Owelling properties.
So
Need-
moved.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? C, 1409 10th Avenue Northwest, men's property.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? D, 1206 6th Avenue Southwest, Wildy property.
So moved.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? E, 2121 First Avenue Northeast, the Manguard property.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? F, 605 21st Street Northeast, the Thompson property.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And finally, G, 2021 4th Avenue Northeast, Wells Fargo property.
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And 21 is a resolution forfeiting 2016 state fire aid. That doesn't sound good.
It doesn't. And for a finance guy to be willing to forfeit state aid, it's not a good thing.
No.
We met last week as staff with Senator Sparks and Representative Poppy regarding the state fire aid. As many of you may be following along, the Office of State Auditor would not certify our 2016 state aid to be paid to us until a large amount of money was paid to the Relief Association based on a change in state statutes from 2013 to 2015 that nobody knew about, including the State Auditor's Office, until 2016. However, in discussing this issue with the state, one of the big issues is, and we actually had gone through a proposal this year that made it into the final pension commission bill, which was to forgive the 13 through 15 back payment and allow us to keep those dollars and just pay the Relief Association as had been agreed on based on the bylaws. However, some last minute wrangling at the state railroaded this bill when a preemption bill was mysteriously merged into our pension bill, which then the governor had already noted or had already indicated he was vetoing any bill that had the preemptive measures into it. So even though our pension bill, which had us in there, was passed 67-0 by the Senate, It passed the Pension Commission, I believe it was 12 or 13-0 with both Democratic and Republican support. The preemption bill was vetoed by the governor of the state of Minnesota, which meant all the work we had done to get the pension bill done and getting our issue fixed was now all for naught. In talking to the state auditor's office, one of the big issues we have is that once any dollars are paid to the special fund of the Relief Association, they can only be taken out for pension benefits. So if we were to get a fix next year, which is our goal for this pension issue, and get relief from that payment amount, we couldn't take the money back from the Relief Association. Also, it creates some unjust enrichment for individuals that may have retired in 13, 14, or 15, and that if we do put the dollars in, they get paid their retirement percentage. If state law gets changed, we'd have to take those individuals to court, in essence, to get our money back. So based on that, in discussion with the City Attorney's Office and Ms. Poppy and Representative Sparks, we decided the best resolution is to actually forfeit $129,000 of 2016 state fire aid that the state of Minnesota owes us. It still keeps us on the hook for amounts owed to the Relief Association based on current state statute. But then what we're going to do next year is request this change again go through the State Pension Commission, for which again it received unanimous support from everybody, and then ask them to then double up the 2018 or 2017, I guess it'd be at that point in time, state fire aid, so we get that money back at that point in time. So again, we're asking council to actually pass a resolution forfeiting the 2016 state aid, because if the state does not physically pay it out by June 30th, it remits back to the state's general fund and cannot be reallocated until a new tax bill comes forward. So again, we're asking council to actually forfeit state aid with the goal that Ms. Poppy and Mr. Sparks will get that reinstated ×2 in the next fiscal year. No guarantees it's going to happen, but in the end, if we give the money into the Relief Association, you can't get it back.
Does everybody understand that? Does everybody agree? Okay, then if you do agree, we need a resolution.
So move the resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Enright,
Aye.
King,
Aye.
Austin,
Aye.
Helly,
Aye.
Hagan,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Anderson.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, and on that note, I'd also like to thank Sparks and Poppy. They did a great job ushering this through the Pension Commission, and even the individuals involved in the Pension Commission, the staff and the senators and representatives on board were all tremendous to work with, and everyone was in favor of it. So,
That said, this is still a tremendous disappointment, and it shows what happens when the legislature can't get together and do their job.
Correct.
It's little towns like us that end up getting whacked so hard for this stuff.
okay, the preemption bill had absolutely nothing to do with the pension bill. And like Austin, there were several other cities that had technical corrections in the bill. It included additional funding to the police and fire PERA that's starting to become a little underfunded, so it helped fix some of their long-term pension issues. But under cover of the night, last second negotiating, somebody decided it'd be a great idea to merge a preemption bill in there, in essence daring the governor to veto it, knowing it'd impact Austin and X other cities. So it's, from our opinion, it's a travesty that that's how it happens. But as one individual emailed me, said, that's politics.
Well, I'm not criticizing. I think Gene and Dan did a good job. It's just the games they play
Correct.
up there, and we end up paying the price. Anybody else in the council want to say anything nasty about the legislation before we move on? All right. Then we are to citizens addressing the council. Is there anybody here that wishes to address the council tonight? Otherwise, we'll go to reports and recommendations. I can't remember who we started with, so Judy, we'll start with you tonight.
Nothing, Your Honor.
Steve?
Nothing, Your Honor. Nothing, Your Honor.
Janet?
I'd just like to welcome Julie Klinefelter as our new library director. Congratulations. And that's all I have.
Okay.
Nothing, Your Honor.
Dave?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Paul?
Was there an addition that we had to?
Yeah.
That was part of the consent.
It was on the consent.
All right, nothing.
Greg, what do we have any reports or?
Just as far as the legislative process, the LGA amount, I guess it's appreciated that we had 15 million statewide. Of that, 136,000 for Austin is included in that. So, and that was part of the base adjustment. So that's a positive. But less than the 20 million that we had last session, and it's certainly short of the 45.5 million we'd hoped for. Stormwater, wastewater funding that will be important for our wastewater plant was included in the bonding bill, so we'll look forward to some of those funds to help us with the cost of regulatory compliance if and when we finally get our permit. So that would be dependent upon what the permit comes back with and then the related costs as far as that's concerned. But other than that, that's all I have. I know Holly, Stephen, Kim, and Brian have items as well.
Wow. Holly, let's start with you.
I've talked about this a few times. We're working on a survey in the Northwest area with Habitat and HRA, and we did get out and talk to some people a couple of weeks ago during the daytime, so we had a hard time finding people at home. So we did get the people that we did make contact with had good responses, and we're happy to see people from the city out asking them what they thought about their neighborhood and issues and opportunities there. We'd like to go back out again and get maybe a better shot at reaching people at home. So we'll do either an evening or weekend date, which should be in the next couple of weeks. So if anybody's interested, just let me know, and then I will get you the dates and times when we firm that up.
Okay, thank you.
So really just asking for volunteers.
Okay.
Thanks.
Is that it? Kim? Who else?
Stephen?
Steven? We're gonna let the ladies go first. Kim, aren't you ready?
Yes, I am.
Well, why do you look so shocked?
Because I figured you'd go to Stephen first.
All right, Steven.
Ladies first. First, can I just clarify, Mr. Dankert, that for item 16, I had that kind of down as 2, where we'd pass a resolution to consider the request for the petition, and then a second setting the public hearing. Can I just confirm that that was done just in one resolution? I just don't want to make sure we didn't miss anything with that. And Mr. Hoverson, you're okay with combining those both into one? Okay, just want to make sure we didn't miss a step, that's all. And then the item that I had for the council is to let you know that the Oakland Place Bridge is, Ms. Enright, is going to be opening up here Thursday. The concrete work for the roadway paving was completed last Wednesday. Takes about 7 days for the concrete to cure out and gain enough strength so that can be opened up. So we'll be doing some cleaning on the bridge about midweek, get the striping out there, and then it will be opened up. The plan is for the county to open it on Thursday.
Morning?
Thursday. There's still work to be done on the intersection there at Oakland Avenue and 14th Street Southeast, so that will follow, but the main thing was to get Oakland Avenue open, and then the 11th Drive I-90 bridge will start on Friday.
And that's gonna be closed completely?
Correct.
I mean, right now they're halting and stuff, but that'll be closed, and how long will that be closed for?
The plan is through the end of September into early October.
Wow, okay. It's gonna be tough for those businesses on the north side.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
Okay, thank you.
Kim?
Thank you. I'd just like everyone to know that the pool will open Monday at 1 o'clock.
All right.
And we still are taking signups for summer rec, and I know there's still some programs out at the Nature Center as well. So summer's here.
And they can find that schedule anywhere online,
City website,
right?
yep, online.
Okay.
Call our office,
Excellent. Well,
either,
thank you,
and the
Kim.
Nature Center office.
Okay.
Thank you.
And did we have something else?
Right.
Right, chief?
If the council didn't recognize, I am wearing a new uniform. Police department changed from our light blue to French blue color and went into effect on June 1st. The officers pay for the new uniforms out of their clothing allowance. So I just thought I'd wear it tonight so the council could see what our new uniforms look like.
Nice.
Nice job.
Yeah. Okay, anybody, is that it?
That's it.
Does anybody else have anything they want to say before we adjourn? If not, we need a motion to adjourn until June 19th, 2017 at 5:30 in the council chambers.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? We'll take a short break and meet in the small conference room across the hall for our bi-weekly work session.
I work a week session.
I mean, they're gonna.
information. Those aren't set in stone yet, but those are the areas that we were going off of for our numbers. The numbers that we've chosen to go with 60 persons doesn't mean that we'll, after our conversations, we thought maybe we'd give 40 to start with, and then we can backfill. Sometimes what happens is people maybe can't make it, or that, you know, goes by the wayside. So that's kind of our plan, and I haven't really heard any other discussions about it either. So it is our recommendation that you approve this application so that we can take it forward to the state.
Council, questions?
So, Kim, the hunts would be, the hunt would, well, maybe you split it into two. Nature Center, Todd Park, Busted Park, Crest Haven.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some of those areas, you know, Janine's going to help us with how many people can hunt at one time. You know, so looking at the acres, and looking at overheads, and what she knows for these hunts is she'll let us know how many people we can go at each time.
Just for
in the areas.
For media, we're talking archery only, obviously. And
yes.
And a fee of $20?
That's a question I had for you guys. Craig and I talked about it, and it ranges anywhere from 5 to, I've seen some larger areas that were a little more than that, but this fee is only to fill out the form, this form for us. And like we said, we're not going to close any of the areas. They will be still open to the public. But it doesn't start till November 1st. And most parks at that point are already closed by charter on October 15th.
I think we have a citizen that wants to talk about it.
Yeah, come on up, Charles. You need your name and your address.
My name is Charles Mills. I live at 2003 Ninth Street Southwest, just south of Calvary Cemetery, just south of Mr. King. I was here 3 years ago maybe, and I think there was a real good reception of restricting the feeding in the city of Austin. And our city clerk actually did some research and found some ordinances that were considered at one time, and that went past. My prime concern is that it's cost me about $600 in landscaping issues. I've spent some money on making electric fence around my wife's garden to satisfy her. I've put about $4,000 into a fence to keep the deer out.
Does it work?
It's worked. But I've spent this money, and I don't think it was really necessary, but because the city is overrun by deer. I think it's obvious. I was speaking to a friend of mine at coffee this morning, and his wife has a picture, and he lives out west side of town. His wife has a picture with 10 deer lying in their yard. I think the thing has gone far enough, and I think we need to do something about it. If we could load them up into a cattle truck and take them somewhere where somebody would like them, that'd be fine. But I see no other solution, and I strongly recommend the city council approve this.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I just had a question about if this is for just 2017 or if we can make a commitment for several years. Because I understand from the experts at the state level that we're not really going to see a measurable change if we only do it for 1 year.
And that was a recommendation.
That is our hope, to continue to bring this back. If you want to say in your motion that you would like this approved for multiple years, David and I had a conversation about it, or, I mean, you can do it both ways. So we plan on trying to do it multiple years, simply because you're right. It's not going to help us at the Nature Center either if we're not doing it.
And I think people need to know that this is going to probably have a very minimal effect on the deer. Ma'am, I mean, Janine, isn't that correct? It's probably going to have a very minimal. I had one person ask me, he said they had a deer hunt north of Rochester and killed 250 deer, and he thought we were going to be wiping them out in Austin. And I mean, my guess is maybe 15, 20 deer at maximum. It's just a guess. And we're not going to be really putting that big of a dent in the population, are we?
Yeah, I'm Janine Vorlin with the Department of Natural Resources, and is no and yes. I mean, there can be some change in deer behavior that actually provides more relief than the actual removal of the animals. But I think you're correct in your estimates is that you're not really, you don't have that much city land to hunt, you know, and how you consider other land, you know, plays into it, but and that's just going to limit the efficacy of your hunt. There's plenty of escape habitat, plenty of other habitat within town, but if you don't do anything, they'll continue to grow, and you know, for every doe that's removed, there's potential reproduction, so it kind of depends on what deer take. But we do tend to find that with the regular hunts, that over time you get on top of the problem.
So you would recommend a yearly?
Yeah, and I wanted to clarify, from the DNR standpoint, we have to come in with basically an annual regulations packet. So we can't authorize the special hunt exactly as it is for more than 1 year at a time.
Right.
These, because they're special, but you certainly, as you know, the council can direct staff to just, you know, you don't have to bring it all back to council every year if that's your choice, but we have to do it every year.
And Kim, how many permits are we looking at?
We were looking at 60.
And they could take how many deer?
They'll get 2, so they'll have an antlerless deer first, and that gives them earn a buck.
Well, yeah, and most of them aren't even going to see a buck. So, I mean, well, I haven't seen them, but I see a lot of deer.
Yeah.
And I don't see many bucks at all.
Bucks become, they're just, deer biology, bucks become somewhat self-regulating. They chase their brothers out.
And there's nowhere near, I mean, most of those people, about half of them would be lucky if half of them got a deer, so. What's a success rate normally for deer hunting?
That really varies. That we often see, and this is not every hunter gets a deer, and some hunters will get multiple deer, but it, as kind of a rule of thumb, somewhere between 75 and 100% of your permits you issue, you know, will come away with a deer. One of the things that also to understand with that, you're authorizing a large number of permits, but that doesn't necessarily mean you can have everybody hunting at the same time, because you don't have that much space. But it allows you to backfill, so if you do have success, then people will be able to come in and hunt again in that same spot if somebody else moves out.
So there
and we found, so you're actually asking for a more robust number of hunters than you can have hunting at any one time safely. So.
And Kim, what are we talking about for season? Is it regular deer season?
No, November 1 to December 20.
Yeah.
I'd make the motion to follow the special deer hunt application as written and allow the Park and Rec Director each year for the next 10 years to follow the same application process for the special hunt in the city of Austin.
I second that.
Any more discussion?
I just want to comment, just a clarification. Ms. Underwood listed the areas that we're applying to allow the hunt, because we've had some concerned citizens thinking that, you know, hunters are going to be knocking on their door and asking if they can hunt on their private property, and that is not the case.
Yeah,
Correct.
That's your choice.
Right.
Is that the department will list it as basically the City of Austin and Hormel Nature Center, because we can't divide it into specific, I mean, it gets too cumbersome to divide it into specific ownerships. So that will be entirely up to you. And what you have a city control over is basically the public lands.
And I think we're not going to, I mean, it's my understanding we're not going to allow hunting on private property. Is that correct?
Correct, we can't.
Without, I mean, permission, it's just not, that's not part of our hunt.
Right, we can't do that.
Okay.
Right. I just wanted, if there's people watching or are going to listen, check the report, that they don't have to worry about that.
Any more questions?
I do have a question. If I remember correctly, last time we were here, you said that it is illegal to feed deer in Mower County because of the chronic waste disease in the bordering country or
That's
county?
correct. That is correct. So at present, there's a statewide rule that prohibits deer feeding in Mower County specifically, so that would include the city of Austin. So whether or not you have a city ordinance, that if you do have feeding going on, I encourage people to report that to a conservation officer and they can address it.
So we wouldn't have to prepare an ordinance?
You
we do.
you wouldn't have to, but just working with other cities, I'd recommend you do consider it. Feeding wildlife can become quite contentious in some neighborhoods, and so there's advantages. And our rule may be there forever, it may be there for 3 years. I can't promise you that.
I'd like to make a recommendation that we prepare an ordinance.
Well, Craig, what did you have?
Yeah, Mayor, members, I spoke with Captain McKeegan and Chief Krieger, and we've looked at the DNR restrictions, and we're bringing forward an item that would mirror the DNR restrictions for the city ordinance.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Can I offer just one edit to the motion, which is that if there would be any kind of safety incident, a near miss or other accident, that it would automatically come back to council for review, even though it's within our 10 years.
Well, Councilmember Helly, it's an action that the city can always revoke at any time. So if there is a problem, it's directed to the administration of the city and brought before the council. They can, Councilmember King motion was for 10 years, but they could, after 2 years, say, under the current circumstances, that's not appropriate, and revoke that authority.
Or we can amend it.
Right. So you're absolutely right. That can be done.
Any more questions, comments? This is a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. 12 is a couple of motions for request to rezone 3108 and 3202 4th Street Northwest from an R1 single-family district to a B2 community business district. Ms. Wallace.
These two parcels are owned by Brian and Kathleen Dolan and Dennis Boyson. The Dolans own a landscaping business in that area, and Mr. Boyson has a residence, which is essentially surrounded by the landscaping business. It came to my attention when Mr. Dolan applied for a permit to add on to one of his buildings. When the area was annexed in several years ago, it came in as R1. At that time, the landscaping business was a legal non-conforming use, but as a non-conforming use, he can expand the use. So in order to add on to his business and expand the business, he needs to rezone the property. The Planning Commission reviewed the request on May 9th, 2017. The Planning Commission considered several factors, and specifically that the proposed land use change is consistent with the comprehensive plan, future land use map as a commercial and retail district. The use is compatible with the surrounding uses and zoning. No significant impacts are anticipated with regard to the existing infrastructure and surrounding environment. That is, if it is rezoned to the B2 commercial, which is what the request is. The Planning Commission voted to approve the recommendation or making a recommendation for approval of the recommendation, 7-0. Do you have any questions?
Council? If not, we need a motion for preparation of the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And then we need ordinance for adoption and publication.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second, Judy? Was it Judy?
Second.
Tom?
Councilmember Hagan.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Enright.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Austin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Councilmember Large Anderson.
Aye.
Ordinance passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. 13 is a resolution approving a plot for Cook Farm Business Park, second edition. Ms. Wallace.
This is a 4-acre parcel with some additional public right-of-way. It has been reviewed by Mower County Public Works, city staff, and Austin Utilities. The council is just reviewing the plat and doing approval of the preliminary and final plats. The Planning Commission also reviewed this matter May 9th, 2017. They reviewed that the plat delineated the boundaries of the property, identified easements, and located roads. The Planning Commission makes a recommendation for approval by a vote of 7-0.
Council? Was that it? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
do you have any questions?
If there are no questions, we need the resolution.
So moved.
Is there a second? Mr. Dankert.
Councilmember Hagan.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Enright.
Aye.
King.
Aye.
Austin.
Aye.
Helly.
Aye.
Councilmember Lloyd Anderson.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0, Your Honor.
Thank you. 14, with our deletion, there's two places we're talking about, granting the Planning and Zoning Department the power to contract for removal of junk and/or illegally stored vehicles at A, 1010 11th Avenue Southwest, the Johnson property. We need a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And C, 408 8th Avenue Southeast, the Alvarez property. We need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And we are now to citizens addressing the council. Is there any citizens out here tonight that want to tell us? Mr. Mills, come on up here. We know who you are, but you gotta tell us your name and address
Just
again for the record.
A quick one. You've passed the ordinance on the deer. I think that's very good. I think the DNR was very appropriate in banning the feeding of deer, because when they get together, they sleep together, they eat together, the diseases can be spread easily. I would encourage the council to adopt an ordinance against feeding deer specifically in the city of Austin.
Okay, it's something we can talk about. Maybe we'll put it, have a work session. I think she mentioned feeding wildlife. And maybe, we don't want people, we had that same thing with cats, feral cats a while back, and, it's something we could talk about. But a lot of people love the deer, there's no doubt about that. They're pretty, but, it's for their own good, really. Anybody else want to talk to the council? If not, we will do reports and recommendations to the council. We'll start with Paul.
Nothing, Your Honor.
David.
Yeah, I'd like to point out Steve laying here. He's a little red on the forehead. That's from working 5 hours, 6 hours straight Saturday morning in Austin, having another very successful recycling event. And he worked his butt off, and I'd like to thank him.
Thank you, Stephen.
How many trucks this time, Stephen?
There are 5.
5 trucks?
5 trucks filled up.
Laura?
Nothing, Your Honor.
I'd just like to thank the Austin Police Department for conducting server training for establishments, bars, and restaurants with liquor licenses. That's going on now, 5:30 to 7:30. And John Mueller and April Klein are running the training, but I talked to, is it Detective or Officer Mueller? Lieutenant. Got to get that right. Lieutenant Mueller said that they will be doing another one in June, so if people weren't able to participate, it's a very important thing that the Austin Police Department does. Thank you.
Jeffrey.
We did have a Park and Rec Board meeting since our last council meeting. By now, I've noticed if you've been out to the Nature Center, the old building has been removed, and we're in the process of making plans on what to do with that space. Also, an issue came up that we will be addressing in the work session following this session, so I will leave that to that, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Stephen?
I think it also needs, someone needs to be recognized as Chief McCoy also helped out Stephen Lang, and it's not lost on me that Councilmember Fisher was very helpful in taking care of the 13-inch and below TVs. Well, Mr. Lang and Chief McCoy had the big projection screens and the old console TVs, so I appreciate Councilmember Fisher helping out with those 8-inch to 13-inch TVs. He was very taxed.
Anything else? No. Judy?
I just want to mention that the Chamber of Commerce ambassadors are now selling raffle tickets for the 4th of July celebration, which we all enjoy. This year the tickets are $10, but the grand prize is $1,000, and then there's over $65 worth of coupons on the raffle. And I have some, so come and get them.
How much are they?
$10.
Are you selling T-shirts again this year too?
No, we don't sell T-shirts.
No T-shirts. Okay.
Not a girl.
All right, Craig.
Yes, Mayor, council members, Mayor and I went to St. Paul for the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities' last legislative push. Legislative session ends next Monday. We're a little concerned about the LGA amount and a bonding bill for wastewater infrastructure costs, as well as transportation, workforce housing, and the like. We're hopeful that the legislative session will come to some fruition, but we're probably not holding our breath. But we'll be able to see what comes about by the time we have our next council meeting, but the push is on.
It's always a very informative experience going up there.
And I think Stephen has something.
Stephen?
Yeah, just a few more things about the electronics recycling event. There were lots of great volunteers that showed up that day. So I'd like to thank all the volunteers there was some city staff there, some county staff there, volunteers from different organizations, council members as well. So it was a very successful event, and that goes a long way with the volunteers that showed up. We had, like I mentioned, 5 semi-trailers. That seems to be pretty consistent with what we've been removing for the last couple of years now. Continues to be a very successful event. Just to give you an idea, we had a single line of vehicles for 5 straight hours. So lots of people lined up. Everyone was very patient, heard lots of thank yous from people that were dropping off materials, so that was very good. Some people had to wait an hour to drop off. That was kind of the general number that we were hearing. Toward the end of the event, it slowed down to wait about a half hour. So again, people were very appreciative of it. It continues to be a successful event, and we'll look to continue doing that in the future. So again, thanks to all the volunteers that were part of it.
And thank you, Stephen. Greg, anybody else?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, if there's nothing else, we need a motion to adjourn to June 5th, 2017 at 5:30 council chambers.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. We'll take a short break and meet in a small conference room across the hall for our work session.